Here. I have Cheetah Will View. And yeah, you're probably noticing right off the bat that uh, I am flying this review under the IFC MidKnights because this review will come. Well, I will be playing this review after Sunday. Sunday, we are doing a deep dive into the movie that our friend Mary Wilson picked out uh, called Come True. Now I got to check this out from the library. My first movie I've ever checked out of our library. Um, so this is the movie that Mary picked out, and so I watched it, and I thought I'd go ahead and do a review, which is different from a deep dive because we're going to be talking about a lot of different things about this movie on Sunday. But for me, this is just my personal opinion about the movie and what I thought about it, and I'm going to date it so that it comes out past the IFC show, comes out, which you can see. You can see the show. I'll have that in a playlist. IFC MidKnights. You can go to any and see any and all of our shows that we've done on the IFC show. We've had quite a few so far, and yeah, I really encourage you guys, if you're a film lover and you say you love horror and you're not just a Scream 6 slappy, if you really want to get into some good horror, some really interesting movies to talk about, highly recommend our playlist, ISC MidKnights. Um, and this movie is definitely one of them. So this is a 2020 film. Uh, it is written, directed, scored. The story's by uh, Anthony Scott Burns. This is not Anthony Scott Burns' first rodeo with IFC. He also did an excellent film for IFC MidKnight called Our House. Our House. I picked this up at the. My friend Ashley recommended this to me. I was going to get it anyway, but she came. I came inside the family video. She was just all gaga about it. She says, you got to see this movie. I'm saving it for you. The second I can put it on sale, I'm pulling it off. I'm calling you for it, and that's exactly how it happened. I got a phone call saying, "Come on down and get it." So the movie we're talking about is Come True, and it is an interesting film. Um, it stars a Canadian actress named Julia Sarah Stone, and her co-star is Landon LeBryan. And what it is a young lady. Her name's Sarah, and she is having a hard time sleeping. Things don't seem really good at home. We really don't get too much into that. We're not sure why it's a hard time for her at home. All we know is that she doesn't sleep there. So that could be a clue in itself, but we really don't know. We do know that she sleeps outside in a park, a playground, and then she gets up and she bicycles home. She dashes in through her window, grabs her school stuff, and then she jumps back out. And so it causes trouble there. She's having a hard time sleeping. So, so when she does come home, she does steal food from her mom's kitchen. I don't know why. Again, it's just one of those things where there's just not enough story there to tell us the reason why she's doing this as of yet. She also goes to her friend's house to sleep as well, and we see that that's something she's done a little bit before. And but it's still not really helping her sleep. She's falling asleep at school, and of course that sets her up for to be made fun of by her classmates. And she, obviously she's not really happy about that. Oh, she's talking with her friend, and she notices that there's a sleep study going on at a local college, local university. So she decides that she's going to go ahead and sign up for the sleep study, because why not? See what help her, see if she can get a good night's sleep, and she gets a chance to make some money out of it. But she has to stay there 2 months. That's the thing. She says, this is a study. It's going to take 2 months. So can you hang around for that? And she says yes. So her and the tech Anita hit it off right away. So and that's good. That's good. Uh, Anita's played by Carly Reisky. A really nice job too. She did a really nice job in this role. So Sarah meets her fellow sleep study patients. There's four men and two women. Sarah plus one other woman and four men, and so they get zapped into some pretty futuristic gear, wired up. Not their typical sleep study where you got like 200 electrodes to you. It's much more simpler. But they all sleep. They all sleep, and then we see that they're being studied. And every time that Sarah sleeps, it's a recurring nightmare, and she keeps going through this weird. It's like a kaleidoscope, and she keeps entering every single time she sleeps. And then she'll get to a certain point where she sees a stranger with glowing eyes, and that causes her to wake up terribly frightened. So yeah, she's not really sleeping too good. So, but lo and behold, at the sleep study, she does. She has a really good sleep, and she sleeps all the way through. And when they ask her about it, she says that yeah, she actually had a good night's sleep. So we see the different doctors and the scientists are studying everybody, and Sarah asks about the experiment, about the experiments they're running, and they can't tell her anything, uh, like what's this for, can't tell you. So she's having, she's cut off from that information. But the third night she's there, she goes back to her old dreams, and so she gets terribly frightened, and this is not good. She has a panic attack. She runs out of the sleep study. And one of the scientists there, a gentleman named Riff, who's played by that's played by Landon LeBryan. I hope I'm not pronouncing that name wrong. Well, he goes ahead and he follows her, and it seems like he's following her, and because he shows up, she starts seeing him at different places, including the theater where her and her friend Zoe are watching a movie, and he's just trying to keep track of her, and so uh, um, she's at the it just happens she's trying to stay away from him, and then one day she's at the laundromat, and she for some reason she has some sort of a weird panic attack. We don't know what causes it. We don't know if she's sleeping wide awake. All we know is that she has a panic attack, and she passes out, and Riff comes over and picks her up and takes her um, uh, um, and talks to her. And he wants her to come back to do the study, but she doesn't want to do the study until she knows more about it, about what they're trying to do. So he takes her inside he takes her inside, and he tries to explain what they're doing is this is interesting. Whereas the old movie Dreamscape, they showed where a person could enter somebody else's dream. Well, here, what they've done is that they say that they can watch other people's dreams. They can't necessarily influence it, but they can watch it, so they can see what's going on when you're sleeping. They're not quite able to go into a dream, so they're not, and um, but that's what he explains to her. He shows up the people's he shows up on everybody else's study, and because he can't show her hers, but he can show her the other people's, and so she can get an idea of what they're trying to do. And she does, and lo and behold, it looks like they're all dreaming about the same thing, and they all have the same nightmare with a shadowy creature with blazing eyes, and it's really perplexing. It's like, okay, that's strange. What are the odds of that? But after Riff shows her, she agrees, and she goes back to the hospital or to the university, and she goes ahead and she agrees to be wired up again. Uh, so uh, uh, So she wakes up though. She wakes up after she agrees to this. She wakes up and she panics. She's having another panic attack, and not only that, but her eye is bleeding. Her left eye is bleeding, and which we can see right here on the cover right here. She has a bandage over her eye, and she has that's where blood was coming out when she woke up. We have no idea why this is happening. We just know that this is happening to her. And Riff goes after her after she runs out of the building again. He goes after her to try to get her back to, try to get her back. She also knows a lot more about the experiment than she should. If she lets the other scientists know that she knows, well, that will cause a lot of problems if the head of the experiments find out that Sarah knows what's going on or has an idea. So she runs. Riff chases after her. The two other scientists try to hold off their boss, while Riff goes ahead and tries to get her. Uh, so anyway, Riff tries to talk to her. He chases her down to a nightclub, and she has passed out there. And he picks her up and he takes her. Um, he takes her back to his house. Meanwhile, at the university, we see that the three male subjects there, they've all gone through they've gone through a tremendous ordeal all at once. They're they're uh, they're 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 all dreaming the same thing at the same time, and yeah, their whole bodies are rigid, their eyes are wide open. We don't know what's really happening. We don't know if they're being attacked. We don't know, if it's just a psychosomatic. Nothing's really explained other than what you see. Um, anyway, Sarah does wake up from her night and her latest nightmare. And she finds out that she's at Riff's apartment, and she discovers that Riff himself is monitoring his own dreams. He's watching himself. He's tied himself to the bed, and he is watching. He is monitoring his own dreams. Not necessarily probably outside the experiments realm guidelines, but that's what he's doing. And when he has a really bad dream sequence, Sarah goes over and wakes him up. Um, so and what's really weird is she's watching this. She's watching him dream, and then as this happens, um, she sees not only him but her. They kiss, and then she grows fangs. She grows fangs, and so does he. He has fangs too. We don't know what that's about. It's a little bit weird. Um, but she knows that he is having the same dream, and he wakes him because it looks really, really, really bad. He starts, looks like something's coming for him. So, so both Riff and Sarah, they're both exhausted. They're both tired. They're both, they don't know what to do. They end up having sex with Sarah. Also, she also passes out again. She just it's at first it looks like she's having a good time, but then she starts having another panic attack, another nightmare, and she passes out again. So, um, so Riff picks her up and takes her to a hospital, a real hospital. And at the hospital, he's watching her in bed and whatnot. And then when he goes to check on her, that she's gone. She's gone. She doesn't know where he's at. She doesn't know where he's at. Riff doesn't know where Sarah went at. So he begins to hallucinate. He begins to have visions of a dark maze of different figures, and they're all trying to grab. They're all trying to grab. So he sees that Sarah has left her room, and that she is a sleepwalker. She is walking in her sleep, and she manages to walk out of the hospital, probably meaning that she has been there before. And that might be our first little clue about what's going on here. She definitely knows her way around the hospital. Riff chases after her, and he tries to stop her at first, but then he realizes that he can't do that. So what he does, he calls Anita up and has Anita bring some gear that he needs, and they're going to track Sarah. They're going to follow her as she sleepwalks and see where it takes them. So they do that. Anita comes out and they walk along the road first, and Riff has managed to put on a pair of slippers on her, and also some equipment on her while she's still sleepwalking. So they walk and they get off this roadway into a wooded area, and they're walking, and Sarah's starting to see all these different creatures, and then and they're not touching her. They're not touching her. In fact, when they do touch her, Sarah, she wakes up, and that really and then they're like then they start seeing all these different creatures around here. Like they don't know who these creatures are, and they all three of them turn. They try to get out of there, and Anita and Riff are shown being tackled from behind, and Sarah just keeps going, and then she passes out, and then she wakes up. Uh, and when she wakes up, well, you'll have to find that out because that's the whole centerpiece, the whole component, the key component of the movie. It's the last 10 minutes. Um, this is a terrific movie. Holy shit, it's an amazing movie actually. This is an amazing movie from IFC MidKnight. I'm not saying that because I like the company. I'm saying it because this is a great movie. And this is one of those movies where will have you talking afterwards. You don't really know you can't really trust your eyes of what you're seeing. Um, there's, there, and the ending is a kick, it's a twist, but I'm not 100% sold on that ending. And that's what really is cool about this movie is you don't know. You think you might know, and look, like, well, it's the ending's like this, but is it? It's one of those ones where you have to watch it again and again. I really wish I could have a copy of this so I could do that, but I would recommend that if you did get a copy of this, you'll find yourself watching it 2 or 3 times because you're not really trusting in what you're seeing. What's really cool about this too, makes this movie really pop as well. Not only the performances, Julia Sarah Stone is a really interesting looking actress. I mean, holy crow! This is the second movie I've ever reviewed of hers. I reviewed a movie called Surfacing, um, way back when in my blog. I think she's a terrific actress. She's so different looking. She's so it's you have to see her. You have to, and the thing is though, she's so cool looking, she's unique, she's different. And that all complimentary. Once you see her, you'll be riveted by her. The rest of the cast is pretty cool as well. Landon LeBrier, of course, Carly Reisky, Tiffany Helm, Tidra Rogers plays her friend Zoe. It's a good cast. It's a relatively unknown cast, probably outside of Julia Sarah Stone, but it's a good cast. And the filming is great. It's economic. The lighting is super cool. It's really muted and bluish throughout the whole film. It works. The music is also top notch. And what's really cool about that too, um, there's a there's a band called Electric Youth that chipped into it, and another person to call it Pilot Priest, who is none other than the director himself, Anthony Scott Evans. Anthony Scott Burns. He's the one that also did his own score as well. Um, I think the only negative thing I would have to say about this is some of the clues they left were just a little bit out of place. I mean, I could be reading it more into that than I am, but for me, for the story they're trying to tell me, um, one, I wish we could have found out just a little bit more. You don't have to tell us the whole backstory, but I wish you could have just told us a little bit more about how Sarah got where she got in the beginning. Um, we don't, I've read other things. I've read other reviews that say that she comes from an abusive home, but we don't know that. We don't know that because for the one scene that we see of her mother seems very concerned about her. She's not, and she tries to call her a couple of times in the film. There's no mention of any brothers or father, so there's no like if there was a father there, you can instantly go like, "Oh, we know what's going on," but there's none. We don't know. We don't know what it is. We think maybe it was maybe it was a car crash. Like, is she even here? Is she just Is she just going crazy? You know, it's just so many different avenues that you can explore in this movie. Um, and like I said, you'll be talking with your friends afterwards about what exactly did you watch. Um, and the other thing, I guess the other thing I would, you know, the other thing is has nothing to do with the movie itself, but it has to do with the movie, with the release. And there's no special features on here because believe me, if there's a movie that needed a making of or a commentary, this would be one of those movies that you really want that to happen for. And it's sort of a bummer that there's no special features. I'm not sure if they just ran out of money. I'm not sure if Anthony Scott Burns was into doing a commentary or making of. I don't know. I just know that he's a terrific writer and a really good director. And I have two of his movies now, and I can highly recommend them both. Our House and Come True, both really really good, both on IFC MidKnight. You could find them on secondary markets. Probably find Come True at Walmart actually. I'm sure it's still there. It's only 2020. um all right, so that's my review for Come True. um I will go ahead and wrap this up. Let me know what you think about it. But after you, hopefully you'll come out. Hopefully by the time you hear this, you've already come out to the show, the IFC MidKnights at 6 p.m. on Sunday on my channel here, and we'll be joined by our crew, Mary and David from David's Horror, Ben from Cadaver Club, and Mike from American Werewolf in New Jersey. We're all going to be sitting here talking about it. And I dare say I was hoping that the movie would hold up well enough to carry us through to the monster on the Midnight Society. Let me tell you, this is a very complimentary piece to that. We'll be talking about the monster on 8/24's The Monster on the Midnight Society, right after we get done talking about Come True. And let me tell you, this movie here, it holds its own. It's a very strong movie, and so it could be a quality night of entertainment. All right, that's it for me. If you're new to the channel, please consider giving us a sub, leave a comment, hit the notification bell. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.